Hello and welcome to the course of Programming Fundamentals. In today's lecture, I will talk about Python strings, what they are, how they are represented, what is their type, how we can access a string, and what are the different operations that we can perform over the strings. Here is a brief roadmap of today's presentation. As usual, I will start with objectives and then we'll introduce the concept of the string, which is which is followed by some useful hints that you need to understand and follow while working with the strings. After that, we will see different operations that a person can perform on the string. And finally, we will see some built-in functions and methods that are available in the Python language, which works very well with the string. Besides, we will also see some escape sequences which are actually used for string formatting. The objective of this lecture is that to let you become familiar with the concept of strings. Similarly, you will learn how to perform different operations on a string. In addition, you will also learn some built-in functions and methods that are available in the Python language, and you will learn how they are actually operate over on the strings. And all these concepts will allow you to write programs that will demonstrate the concept of string. First thing that come into our mind is what is actually a string. In Python, a string is actually a series or a sequence or a combination of characters. What is a character? A character is actually anything you can type on the keyboard in one keystroke. For example, a letter A, B, C, or even numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And also the special characters such as the dollar sign, hash sign, equal sign, underscore, etc. All these are examples of characters. And once they are combined together in a series, in a sequence, then it is referred as a string. You will be wondering to know that even the space, empty space, is also considered to be a character, although it does not have a visible representation. It is also defined as a single quote, which is followed immediately by a second single quote with no gap between them. It should be noted that strings are immutable, and you are familiar with this word immutable. Anything that cannot be changed, they are referred as immutable. Strings are immutable. It means once a string has been created, it cannot be changed. If you try to change a string, you will in fact create a new string, which will contain whatever modification you made. And this modification will not affect the original string in any way. You can uh, traverse through the item of a nested uh, a nested list using the for loop. Actually, to define the start and end of a string, this point I think is not relevant to the lecture. Please do not consider it here. Okay, this is something related with the list. Okay, we are studying about the strings, not about the list. So to define the start and ending of a string, we have to use single quotes like this or double quotes like this. In Python, it means that in Python, either single or double quotes can be used to define a string. and both of these are valid. However, the single quote approach is actually uh, more Pythonic approach or more conventional approach. Most of Python programmer, they are used to with the use of the single quote rather than using the double quote. But you can use any of this, either single quote or double quote. However, it is important to understand that you cannot mix the two styles. Okay. For example, you cannot do things like this. Hello. Start with a single quote and then end with a double quote. Or like this. Something which will start with double quote and which will end with a single quote. The mixture of the two style is not possible. Which means you cannot start a string with a single quote and end it with a double quote or vice versa. Okay. However, here it is important to note that the ability to use either single or double quote come in a useful way. Sometime you would need to include a single quote in a string like this. It's a lovely day. Starting of the string, ending of the string. But I want this single quote to be part of this string. Okay. Or consider the second example. She said hello. I want this hello to be enclosed inside the double quotation once I print this statement. In both of these situations, you can actually use, if you want to display a single quotes, then you can enclose the string within double quotes. And if you want this double quote to be displayed along with this string, then you have to enclose this string in single quote. Okay, this is not same as this case. Here we were using a mixture of the style, but here we are using the same style, but we want a single quotation or double quotation to be part of the string or to be displayed along with the string. That is possible, and this is one of the possible use case of the string. Another alternative is the use of triple quotes. You are familiar, you have used something like this in the comments, multiple line comments. Here is another use of the triple quotes, which might at first seems a bit unwidely, but they allow a string to support multi-line string. Every time you run this program, it will display the string in one line, but sometime you would need to display the string the way you want in multiple line. Let's suppose this string you want to display it in the same order like this. For this to happen, you have to enclose the string inside triple quotes. Once you did it, you write it like this. Hello will be displayed on one line, and then world will be displayed on the second line. But before displaying the word world, it will create empty spaces. This is like a tape. Okay, so the format that you specify here will be followed by the Python interpreter because of this triple quotations. In Python, we have different types like integer, float, and string, boolean, etc. It is often said that Python is untyped, but this is not strictly true. Python is dynamically typed language with all data having an associated type. The type of an item of data, such as string, determines what it is legal to do with the data and what is the effect of various actions that we performed on the data. For example, what the effect of using the plus operator is will depend on the type involved. If they are numbered like this, then we know the plus operator will add them together, and the answer in this case will be 3. However, if you apply the same operator on string, like this. In this case, this is not a plus operator now. It is concatenation operator. It will concatenate or combine the string together like this. It will not add them together. It will combine them together. It means that same operator have different meaning when it is applied on different type. And what is the type of a string? It is possible to find out what type a variable currently holds using a built-in function, a noun which is known as type. For example, you have a variable with the name my underscore variable, and you assign some string type data to this variable. And you are interested to find what is the type of this variable or what type of data this variable actually holds. For that, you have to use the built-in function type. And inside the parentheses, you have to provide the argument or parameter, which is my underscore variable. And the output of this program is going to be class string. It means that actually the type of data that this variable is holding is actually of string type. And this is the type of a string as well. Okay, so Python is not an untyped language. It is dynamically typed language, and dynamically typed mean if you assign let's suppose integer type data to this variable, that is possible. Now if you run this program, the output is not going to be string, it is going to be integer. Okay, so that is possible. Some hints for using string. The first is that Python strings are case sensitive, and we are very much familiar that in Python the small l is not equivalent to large n, because one will contain the lowercase letter and the other contain an uppercase letter. So if a string contains this l, that will not be equal to capital L because they are case sensitive. Second, a Python hint related with the string is that you need to be careful with this capitalization of functions and method name. Again, case sensitivity is there. If the for example in this case the name of the built-in function was type with all small letter, okay, if you write type like this, then that is not doable. Okay, you must be careful with case sensitivity as well as with the function's name. Be careful with capitalization of the function names. Similarly, there is another function which we will see in a moment, and that function is a built-in function. The name is upper. And we also have another function which is like this. The U is capital here. Now both these functions are different. So if you use the wrong case, Python will not be able to find the required function or method and will generate maybe an error message. But do not worry about the terminology regarding function and methods at this point. For now, we are using the functions and the methods interchangeably, although there is a difference between these two, but you do not need to be worried about what are the differences between function and methods. At some point, we will see the differences, but for now, for us, they both refer to the same thing. Yeah. Another thing that we need to consider is whenever you want to use a function or a method, remember that it must be followed by parentheses. That is the syntax of a method or a function. So be careful to include the round brackets when you call a function or a method, even if it takes no parameter or arguments. If you are not providing anything inside this parenthesis, still you have to use them after using the function name like this or like this. So that is something related with the format. And finally, as we just explained in the definition of the string, that string are immutable. It cannot be modified, as we saw in the case of tuples. The characters in a string cannot be changed once a string value is assigned to string variable. Okay. Uh, Strings, the length of a strings can be defined with a built-in function known as len, and we have already applied this function to list and also to the tuples, but you can apply it to a string as well. So now we are studying different operations. The first one is to find the length of the string. It can sometimes be useful to know how long a string is. For example, if you are putting a string into a user interface, you might need to know how much of the string will be displayed within a field. So to find out the length of a string in Python, you can use the len function like this. We have a variable, myString, and we assigned the string hello to this variable. And now I want to know how many characters are actually here in this string. So the total number of characters here, as we know, are 5. The output of this line will be 5. And this knowing the length has many features, many applications. Let's suppose you are collecting data from the user, and you want to apply a limit on the number of characters the user can type there. Okay. Once the user exceeds those number of characters, it will display a warning message to the user that the required the limit has been reached out. Please minimize the number of characters. There is one application. Other applications are possible as well. Another operation that you can perform on a string is that you can access the individual characters of the string. Each character in the string occupy a position in the string. As we saw in the case of list and also in the case of tuples. Same is the case with string. Each character occupies a unique position in the string. And indexing, you are quite familiar with it. The first character is at index 0, the next character is at index 1, and so on. And the length of a string is the number of characters in it. So you can access any character of a string by using the indexing. For that, we have to use the square bracket. The syntax is like this: name of the variable and then the index, the position, the location of the character that you want to access. Let's suppose you have a string like this: be yourself. It is stored in computer memory. The first character is always at index 0 and then 1, 2, and so on. If you want to access this character R, you have to write name of the string or name of the variable where the string is stored. In our case, the name is string name, and then index of this character. So the index here is 6. You have to write 6 here enclosed in the bracket, and it will display the character R. The individual characters can be accessed with the help of unique index number. And square brackets are used to perform indexing in a string. This is also known as a subscript operator or sometimes variable. The index actually breakdown for the string be yourself is shown here in the figure, and this is actually the syntax to refer to the individual characters of a string. There is also another way of indexing or accessing a character, and that is to use minus indexing. If you move from left to right, the indexes start from 0. If you want to move from right to left, then the indexes will start from -1, -2, and so on. This is like another way to access the elements, the characters of a string. If you want to access this character, for example, then you have to provide in this index you will have to write -1 and it will display this character. If you want to access this character, then the index here is -3. Just write -3 here and it will refer to this location character. That is also possible, another way to access the characters of a string. Sometimes we want to access a subset of character which is known as slicing, and you are familiar with this concept because we have talked about slicing in the list and tuple lectures. A substring is actually uh, any sequence of character that is contained in the string. You can say that a substring is created when slicing the string, which is basically a string that already exists within another string. The slice syntax is a handy way to refer to the subparts of a sequence of character within the original string. The syntax is like this. First, you have to write name of the variable where the string is stored, and then you have to provide three types of information to this string. As we are interested in displaying only a subset of characters, which is known as a slice, so we have to provide three types of information: starting index and the final index, from where you want to start the slide and up to where you want to display the characters in that slice and that step. You are familiar with this thing. We have already studied it in the for loop. Three things. This is optional, this is optional, this is mandatory. Let us see some example how actually slicing work. We have a string given. The name of the variable here is healthy underscore drink, and green tea is there. Indexes as usually start from 0, 1, 2, and so on. You can also start from -1, -2, -3, and so on. This statement, if you write print here, then it will display. Okay, if you write print healthy drink 0 to 3, what will happen here? We want to display only a subset of this string, or we want to display only a slice. The initial value of the slice is 0, the final value is 3, mean 0 up to 3. What is important to understand that 3 is not included here, but 0 is included. So the character at location 0 is G, okay, access and displayed. The character at 1 is R, access and displayed, and the character at index 2 is E, access and displayed. This 3 is not included in the count. Second statement, again, refer to this healthy drink. Here now, as I just mentioned, the first value is optional. If you do not mention the first value, the by default value here is considered to be 0. Now I want to display string from 0 up to 5, mean 5 will not be included. It will display only the green. Again here, now I want to start from index 0, from index 6, but the final value is missing. What will happen here? Actually, it will display all the characters after the starting point, which is 6. So it will start at 6, it will display T, then E, and then A. As we do not have any other character which is left here, then the operation is completed and will display T. Here, nothing is mentioned. The starting value will be considered as 0, the final value will be considered as 8, and the step will be considered as 1. So it will display the whole string. Now you can raise a question that it is not a substring, it is actually the complete string. So you can also display the complete string as well, and a subset could be the complete set as well. So you can consider it as a subset even if it contains all the elements of the original string. What about this one? Start at 4, end and at 4. Actually, it will display nothing. Why? Because the initial value is 4, but the final value here is again 4. So 1 less than 4, which means nothing like. So the output is empty string here. What about this one? Start with 6 and end with 20. Okay, we do not have 20 here. It will display 6, 7, 8, and then as we do not have anything, then it will ignore the rest of the positions. This is how we actually access a slice of a string and different methods that we saw. Repeating a string. We can also use the steric operator. Are you familiar with this operator? Yes. We have used this operator in the arithmetic operators for multiplication and also as a repetition operator in the list and tuples. You can also apply this on the string. It will actually repeats the given string a certain number of times. And here is a simple example. I want to print this string, which is actually a character, single character, that is 8 sign. How much time? 10 times. With the help of this repetition operator, hey, repeat this string 10 times. It will display this symbol or this character 10 times. You can easily repeat a string by using the repetition operator. And then splitting string. Sometime a common requirement is the need to split a string into multiple separate string based on a specific character, and that character could be a space or it could be even a comma. And this can be done with the help of a split, a built-in function or method. It will actually accepts a string to used in identifying how to split up the receiving string. For example, you have a string and the title is the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you print this string, it will actually display the whole string. But I want to separate this string with the help of a space. Okay, this represent actually space. And you see, I am applying this function, this built-in function on this variable title, which contain this string. Okay, take this string and separate it, convert it into or split it into different strings on the basis of this information, and this is actually a space. So after the we have a space, so this is first substring. After good including comma, we have another space, so this is second substring. The bait and including the is another substring, bait is another substring, and is another substring, the is another substring, and finally ugly is another substring. So we separate the string with the help of empty space. In a similar way, you can use a comma as a separator. What will happen then? From T up to D, because we have a comma here, is first substring. From D up to bait D, we have the second substring, and this will be considered as a third and final substring. This is how we can actually split a string with the help of a split function. You may notice something odd about the way in which we wrote this split function. If you are giving attention, you might wonder that the way we use this function is actually a bit different, because we do not pass the string into this function as a parameter or as an argument. Rather, we use the format of the variable, here a space and here a comma. Okay, this is because split is actually what is referred to as a method. Remember, I mentioned that there is a difference between function and method. That is the difference. But we will also explore the difference between a function and a method next week when we will be studying function in more details. But for the time being, it is actually an example of a method and not a function. Okay, so the basic difference is that when you provide an argument or parameter, then that is a function. But here we are not specifying any argument and parameters. This is a method. Next operation is concatenating. And concatenating means combining two strings. In Python, strings can be concatenated with the help of plus operator. Remember, as I just mentioned, depending on the type of the variable, the plus operator will perform its duty. If it is an integer, then it will sum them up. However, if they are string, as in this case, it will combine these two. we have two strings, string 1 and string 2. The value of string 1 is face and the value of string 2 is book. And then I am applying the plus concatenating operator over these two strings. It will actually combine them and print them together. So remember, I cannot change or modify the string because they are immutable, but I can assign it to a third variable, let's suppose concatenated string, and it will actually display these two value combined. So the output of this program is Facebook written combined. This is possible. Concatenation of string is possible with the help of plus operator. Counting string possible. It is possible to find out how many times a string is repeated in another string, and this is done with the help of count operation. For example, you have a string which is with the name myString, and it contains the string like count the number of spaces. What you want to count, you have to mention it here. Again, we have a method, and you can see I am applying this method over the string which has a name myString. What will happen here? It will actually count the number of spaces, like we have 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces, and 4 spaces. So the output here is 4 because there we have 4 spaces. You can count how many times a string is repeated or a character is repeated in a string with the help of count operation. And for that you have to use the count method. Another important operation is replacing the string. One string can be replaced a substring in another string. This is done using the replace method on a string. Okay, this is actually now a function. For example, you have a string and the name of the string is welcome message. The string here is hello world. You want to replace this world with goodbye. That is possible. First, you have to write name of the string, which is welcome message, and then name of the method, the function that is replace, and then you have to provide the sorry, I do not want to replace the world. I want to replace the hello with goodbye. The syntax is like this: old text, old string that you want to replace, and new string with which you want to replace. So I want to replace hello with goodbye. Now, if you run this statement, it will actually display goodbye world instead of displaying hello world. Why? Because I have replaced the text hello with goodbye with the help of this method. You can actually replace a string with any string that you want with the help of replace method. Next, you can find any substring with the help of find method. You can find out if one string is a substring of another string using the find method. This method takes a second string as a parameter. You see, in this case, Alan is actually a parameter, and it will check to see if that string is in the original string. For example, if you run the statement Edward Allen Rawlings, find Alan. As Alan is present in this string, the output is the index of the first character of the string that you want to find. The first character is A. What is the index? Let us count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So we have found the substring for which we were looking, and the starting index of the substring is 7. Now what will happen if the string is not found? The substring is not found in the given string. Then in that case, it will display -1, something less than 0, which means the substring that we were looking for is not present. And otherwise, it will return an index indicating the start of the substring. This is important. Sometimes we need to convert one type into another type, like string, like integer into string, boolean into string, and so on. That is possible. If you try, for example, if you try to use the plus concatenating operator with a string and some other types. Let's suppose you have a, which is a string, and you have 2, which is an integer. In this case, it will generate an error. Okay. So how to solve this? In order to solve this, I want this to be written like this. I want this output. That is not possible simply with this operation. But there is a solution. And the solution is to change this integer type into a string. And this is possible with the help of a built-in method known as str. To concatenate a number such as 2 with a string such as a, you must convert it into a string. And this can be done with the help of str function. The str function actually returns a string which is considered as informal or nicely printable representation of the given object. You provide an object to this function and it converts that object into a string. Or you can say it actually returns the string version of the object. If the object is not provided, it will actually return an empty string. But that is something more technical. We will not go into the details. Here is an example. We have a variable message and it contains the string hello. Okay, the spelling is not correct here. Hello, anyone, you are plus 21, and I want to display this message. Now it will accept this 21 because the string will convert it, str function will convert it into a string. Okay, and now if you run this program, it will display hello lovely, you are 21, mean the age of that person. More operations that can be performed on the string are the relational comparison operators. You are quite familiar with these operators. We use them to numbers, to integers, to floating points. But now here we are trying to use them, to apply them on the string, and that is possible. It will actually compare two strings, and the output, as usual, is going to be in Boolean, either true or false value. In Python, compare string using the ASCII values of the character, and it compare characters to string character by character. Okay, some of the examples are here. Compare these two strings and tell me whether this is true or false. Let us see. January is equal to Jenny. No, it is not equal. So the output is going to be false. Here I'm telling it that January is not equal to Jenny. Oh, yes, that is true. The output is true. January is less than Jenny. False. Greater than Jenny. Yes, that is true. The output is true. The comparison is based on the ASCII numbers. You can compare single strings just like this. A is equal to A. Or you can use more than one character string just like here. The output is going to be a Boolean value, either true or false. So string comparison is possible. Okay, some built-in functions and methods. There are a large number of methods and functions readily available that actually you can perform on the string. We will not go into the details of all these functions, but the description is mentioned here. We will apply some of these functions in the practical session of this week. Do not worry about it. But if you are interested in learning all these functions, the description is provided along with the syntax. Sometimes we require to work with a string, and in that cases, in those scenarios, we will actually require some of these functions. So if you are particularly working with the string, these functions are going to be helpful for you. Some of the functions are like uh, capitalize, which will actually convert the string into capital letters. Other methods are like find, we have already seen, count, we have already seen. Some other types of messages and functions that we are familiar with is lower, and also some of the functions like a swipe case. If you want to return a copy of the string with an uppercase characters, convert it to lowercase, then that is possible with the help of this function, and plenty of other functions are there. If you want to convert it to uppercase or to lowercase, or if you want to find whether the string is in uppercase or not, it will return a boolean value to either true or false, and so on. Plenty of functions are there. uh, Finally, let us see string formatting. String formatting is possible with the help of escape sequences. If you are familiar with C++, you are quite familiar with escape sequences. If not, don't worry, we will learn about it in a moment. Escape sequences are a combination of backslash, which is followed by either a letter or a combination of letters and digit. These escape sequences are also known as control sequences, and their primary use is formatting. Actually, the backslash character is used to escape the meaning of characters. Okay, normally this character is a character, but once it is followed by the backslash, then the meaning of this character has been changed. Now it has a special meaning with an alternate interpretation. And remember, all the escape sequences that we will use in Python, they are actually consist of 2 or more characters. So here we have 2 characters, but sometimes we will require to use 3 characters as well. What are the different escape sequences that are available in the Python? The list is here. Backslash. It actually break a line into multiple lines. You can use this like this: hello, and then backslash, and then world. What will happen? It will break this string into multiple line, in this case 2 lines. Double backslash. If you want to insert backslash inside your text like this: world, or for example earth. If you want this to be displayed, if you simply write things like this, it will be considered as a new line character. I want it to be displayed as well in the string. For that, you have to put another backslash. So if you want to insert a backslash in a string, you have to use the double backslash. If you want to insert a single quote, here is the format. If you want to insert double quote, here is the format. If you want to insert a new line, here is the format. If you want to insert a tape, here is the format. If you want to enter to enter or to insert a carriage return, here is the format. If you want a backspace to remove the last enter character, for example D, as we have the backspace on our keyboard, backslash P is the option. If you want to insert a Unicode character, here is the option. If you want to insert a string in octal or in hexa value, these are available. We will see some example about escape sequences in our practical session of this week. But the primary purpose of escape sequence is to format the strings or do other stuff as well. Okay, we will see a program about escape sequence in the practical week. This was about string, different operations that we can perform on the strings, and different escape sequences that are available to format the string. Thank you so much for watching the video. See you in the practical session. Till then, goodbye.